Start, huh? Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah and good afternoon everyone. Let us start our session with the recital of Kitab Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the i-LEdHS 2026 parallel session. My name is Suryani and I will be your moderator for this session. And this is the session for the parallel session for track, for education track. Yeah. So I hope everyone is at the right place for us to join the presentation to be given by 7 presenters. And before we start, I would like to kindly remind all participants to keep your cameras on throughout the session, if possible. That would make our session, yes, more lively. And to keep the attendance form, to complete the attendance form to be provided afterwards. So we would like to also inform that any videos exceeding 20 minutes limit time will be minimized. It has been done by our technician. For your information, each presentation will be followed by a Q&A session with approximately 5 minutes allocated for discussion. Okay, so without much ado, then let us begin our session. I would like to proceed with the presentation for paper ID CE10, entitled Addressing Clients' Complaints Through Written Communication, Pedagogical Ideas for Adult Learners for ESP. And the presenter is Mrs. Nur Hairunisa Muhammad Noor. So please welcome the presenter. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day everyone. I am Nurhanisa binti Muhammad Noor and I'll be presenting a conceptual paper entitled Addressing Clients' Complaints Through Written Communication, Pedagogical Ideas for Adult Learners of ESP. And the names of my group members are Madam Anis Idayu Aziz, Madam Nur Shalimi Zahari, and also Dr. Nur Shalimi Ilyani Cik Hassan. I will first start with the introduction section of this conceptual paper. Globalization has increased cross-border business communication, making English is now an essential workplace skill. And the demand for English for specific purposes, or known as ESP, continues to grow. However, many programs still focus on English for academic purposes, EAP, where EAP does not always prepare learners for real workplace communication. This is where we see the problem. Therefore, the problem statement listed for this conceptual paper is mismatch between classroom learning and workplace communication. Number 2, limited focus on authentic professional tasks. Number 3, there is a need for practical workplace-oriented communication training. And also listed here, 3 objectives for this conceptual paper. The first objective is analyze the specific linguistic needs and communicative strategies of employees in a specific situation. Number 2, rethink pedagogical approaches to ESP writing instruction. And last one, reimagine how adult learners can be prepared for professional communicative tasks. And in this paper too, we use these theoretical frameworks, namely andragogy or adult learning theory, where in this theory we look at how mature individuals process information. And the second theory is ESL and ESP theory. And in this theory, we can observe how language is structured differently across disciplines and professional domains. And the third theory is genre theory. And this is how specialized texts are structured to achieve communicative purposes within discourse communities. Here is the most interesting part of this paper, because we are now offering pedagogical ideas, and it is divided into 3 parts here. The first one is responding to complaints through formal letter. We also look at how to respond to complaints through emails, and we also look at how to respond to complaints through online review responses. So I will first start with formal letters. And this is the first activity that we would like to propose. It is named Letter Relay. In this letter relay activity here, it is one essential skill in workplace communication is letter writing. And this activity promotes collaborative writing skills. And for this activity too, there are two underlying theories. The first one is the process writing approach, and the second one is Vygotsky's socio-cultural theory. And if you would like to adopt these activities in your classroom, these are the steps that you can follow, where you first need to divide students into groups of 5, and then there will be 2 rounds in doing this activity. In the first round, each group will receive a scenario card, and they need to write a business letter using the relay method. Second, each group member is given 1 minute to write before passing it on to the other group member. Thirdly, once the last member finishes the writing, the letters of all groups are collected. After that, you can move to round 2, where in round 2 here, you will repeat the same process with a new scenario and a new turn for the group members. Once round 2 is completed, the groups present their 2 letters and compare them with the other groups. So that is for the first activity, where we call it letter relay activity. The second activity is called From Notes to Formal Letter, and this activity helps students move from notes to a developed formal business letter. Number 2, this activity helps students strengthen their ability to structure message clearly and also professionally. Number 3, this activity helps students build confidence in terms of sequencing, wording, and also clarity. The activity also emphasizes accuracy in tone, format, and organization. For the steps to carry out this activity, number 1, you have to divide students into groups of 5, and each group is given 1 set of bullet point notes based on a different scenario. Next, students are asked to write a formal business letter following the scenario. Once they have completed, they need to exchange the letters with another group for review. And the groups will be called randomly to read their letters aloud to the class. So these are the 2 activities that we would like to propose under responding to complaints through formal letters. Next one, it is responding to complaints through emails. And the first activity here is called Email Detective. And for the learning outcomes for email detective activity, number 1, students should be able to identify key components and purposes of workplace emails. Number 2, recognize and interpret communicative functions in emails. Number 3, demonstrate critical reading and analytical skills by examining how meaning is constructed. And last one, reflect on appropriate language use in digital written communication. And these are the steps to carry out email detective activity. The first step is students are divided into groups of 5, and each group will receive the poorly written emails containing problems with tone, subject lines, clarity, or structure. After that, they need to become email detectives, where they have to analyze the emails to identify errors and also weaknesses. After that, they have to discuss and also decide on appropriate revisions for the email, and they rewrite the email and improve the version of the email before they can present to the class the changes made to the email. So that is for email detective activity. The second activity that we would like to propose is named Email Improvisation Game. By the end of this activity, students should be able to identify relevant information in workplace emails. Number 2, maintain clarity and coherence in written responses. Number 3, produce logically organized and contextually appropriate email responses. For the steps to carry out this activity, number 1, students are divided into groups of 3. And each group will randomly select 3 scenario cards from the box. and they have to analyze the scenario and identify the expected purpose and response for the scenario, and they need to draft the email response by working collaboratively. After that, they have to present and also justify and provide the reasoning behind tone, content, and also organization of their email. So these are the 2 steps under responding to complaints through emails. Thirdly, we have responding to complaints through online review responses. And for online review responses, we would like to propose this activity named Online Review Under the Lens. And these are the objectives for this activity. Number 1, to develop students' ability to analyze and identify communicative purposes conveyed in online reviews. Number 2, to enhance students' critical reading and comprehension skills. Number 3, to inculcate awareness of discourse functions in digital written communication. And last one is to foster collaborative learning. For the steps on how to conduct online review under the lens, the first step is the group will receive 10 workplace reviews labeled as OR1 until OR10. OR here stands for online review. So they will receive OR1 until OR10. And for step number 2, the students need to read each sentence carefully, and they have to pick the most appropriate label for every sentence. After they have made their choice on the label for every sentence, they also need to present the findings to the class. So this is the steps for online review under the lens. And last activity that we would like to propose here is called Review Response Puzzle. And for this Review Response Puzzle, these are the objectives of this activity. Number 1, to enhance students' ability to analyze and match review responses with appropriate online reviews using contextual and linguistic clues. Number 2, to develop students' critical thinking by identifying and removing irrelevant sentences. Number 3, to improve the skills of organizing and sequencing information. And last one is to foster justification skills through presentation of reconstructed review responses. And here are the steps to carry out the activity. For step 1 and also for step 2, students need to match RR1 until RR10 to OR1 until OR10 by highlighting clues. So what is RR1? RR1 here refers to review response 1, where they have to match review response 1 to review response 10 to OR1 here means online review, yeah. So it means they have to match RR1 until RR10 to online review 1 to online review 10 by highlighting clues. So we just kind of label them with RR1 until RR10 and also OR1 until OR10. That is for step 1 and also step 2. For step 3, students need to read and identify and remove irrelevant sentences. And step 4, they have to rearrange the remaining sentences for clarity. And they also need to present review responses to the class. So these are the 6 activities that we would like to propose under responding to complaints through formal letters, emails, and also online reviews. As a conclusion, workplace communication requires practical language skills, and traditional academic models are not always sufficient. ESP should focus on authentic professional tasks. That's why we propose the 6 activities just now. And effective pedagogy builds confidence and communication competence. We also would like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the Perbadanan Kemajuan Iktisad Negeri Kelantan, PKINK, for providing the research grant that supported the completion of our project here. With that, thank you very much everyone for listening and also watching. Assalamualaikum and goodbye.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much. That was a very insightful sharing of how we can actually teach our students written communication, particularly for adult learners. All right, so now we will open the floor for Q&A session. If anyone has a question, you may raise your hand or perhaps indicate that in the text in the chat box. Yeah, okay. We've got a participant to ask a question here. Yes.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Suryani, Dr. Anis Hidayat.
Waalaikumsalam. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to ask for this activity. All right. How long does it take for you to carry out the whole project? Okay. Does it take one semester? And do you conduct the project on a group of final year students?
Okay. All right. So we would like to ask for the author to respond to the question, please.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Sahila. Thank you for the question. Yeah, actually, this is actually a conceptual paper where we do not carry out the project render activities yet, but and this is the pedagogical ideas where other instructors can adopt if they are teaching adult learners. So we are just giving them ideas, pedagogical ideas only to carry out these activities with ESP learners.
It is a very good idea, Dr. Anis. So, all right, based on your opinion, what is your advice? How long should it take? Yeah, does it take one semester, and which cohort of students will it be suitable for? Thank you, Dr. Anis.
Just for my suggestion, yeah, I think if you would like to conduct this activity, maybe per session, around 30 minutes, maybe per session, and somewhere around three to 4 months will do in order to complete all the 6 activities that we proposed. All right. Thank you, Dr. Sahila.
All right. So I hope the author has responded or answered, given the answer to the question given. All right. So any further questions from the participants or the audience in this session? All right. Anyone? All right, so looks like that we are ready for the next presentation. So we will move to the second paper, CE15, that will be by Dr. Suhaila herself, inshallah. And the title is The Use of Cognitive Poetics in Teaching English Literature in 3 Schools in Selangor. All right, so with that, I would like to call upon the speaker and to proceed with the presentation. Thank you. Let's listen together.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. All right, I am Suhaila binti Abdullah, and I'm very happy to meet all of you in this wonderful conference conducted by UITM Kelantan. So I would like to start my presentation without further ado. Yes, Assalamualaikum and a good day to everyone. So my title today is The Use of Cognitive Poetics in Teaching English Literature in 3 Schools in Selangor. It was a study conducted for my PhD studies here, and these were my 2 wonderful supervisors, okay, Almarhumah Prof. Dr. Faiza Idrus and Professor Dr. Ismail Sheikh Ahmad. Alhamdulillah, they really helped me in carrying out and completing this research. So let's go quickly to why I do this research. There were 3 problems that circulated around this issue. Firstly, it was reported that there was a decreasing number of students who sat for the literature paper. So in SPM, CJ Pelajaran Malaysia, all right, 476 students sat for the English literature paper in 2017. All right, and the number dropped to 195 students in 2018. Yeah. Also, secondly, all right, for STPM, okay, Malaysian Higher School Certificate, 95 students in 2012 sat for the literature paper, but in 2022, the number went down to 65 students only. So the second problem was that students needed higher order thinking skills and problem skills. It was proven by the PISA scores, okay, in which there was a drop, yeah, from 431 to 444, yeah, from 2018 to 2022. All right, and the third problem was that when I was doing this research, I found that studies pertaining to thinking skills in the teaching of literature presently under research, yeah, and also reports by Singh et al. and Sidhu and Chan, they reported that thinking skills were not much encouraged here because the concern was more about answering the exam questions. And then secondly, teachers needed good teaching strategies, all right, to teach HOTS. So based on this statement, I was very curious whether do teachers need teaching strategies or not. Yeah, so these are the methodologies of teaching English and in English language and literature all around the world. So I started in South Africa. Okay, so the researchers by the name of Motaka and Sekete, okay, mentioned that read aloud methods were used in schools in South Africa to rectify students' mispronunciation. However, this resulted in limited engagement between students and the teachers. Yeah. Whereas studies in Saudi Arabia reported that interactive teaching strategies, all right, that are inclusive and adaptive to the culture of students were implemented. Okay, and another study in South Africa shared that they included storytelling and acting in dramas. Whereas in Ecuador, Frine reported that the schools use a multimodal approach, incorporating visual, auditory, and kinetic learning strategies to encourage students in learning English literature. All right. Whereas in Algeria, Gasmi in 2025 reported that face-to-face method of instruction was the only effective method to teach English literature. Whereas in the Philippines, Sapano Agno reported in his or her 2024 study that cultural, language-based, and personal growth models were used to teach English literature to students in the classroom. So in Pakistan, Panwa reported that living educational theory research was used in the classroom, and the think, pair, share method was used to encourage students to learn English literature. Whereas in our neighboring country, Indonesia, our neighbor, Kusnarwani et al. Reported that a language style approach was used, in which they employed vocabulary discussion, a review of sentence structure and coherence, and later they proceeded with identifying rhetoric and figurative language. Okay, whereas a group of researchers in Turkey reported that the students struggle in terms of idiomatic vocabulary and idiomatic expression. Allow me to check whether it is still recording here. Thank you very much. Okay, so I continue. Okay, I continue with my slides. All right, next, Okay, so I use CP approach, which is cognitive poetics approach, based on Peter Stockwell's textbook. Book. His book. Okay, his published book. Peter Stockwell was one of the, and is still one of the experts in CP, cognitive poetics. So cognitive poetics involve, a relationship between the literary text, the author, and the reader. Okay, so out of many concepts that Peter Stockwell portrayed and explained in his book, okay, I chose figures and grounds, prototypes and reading, as well as discourse world and mental spaces. Okay, so in this study, this study was supported by Vygotsky's theory of concept formation, as well as Piagetian theory of cognitive development. So this research design employed a case study research design, okay, in which the participants of the study were chosen based on this criteria. Okay, there were 3 experienced teachers, okay, who were selected, okay, based on their 4 to 10 years of experience. They were teaching in the Klang Valley and they were proficient in English, and they were exposed to learning and teaching of literature in their careers. Okay, so also, I will explain this further. This is my methodology. So I identify suitable schools first, and then I obtain permission from the university and schools. Okay, after that, the schools gave me 3, give me their teachers to be my informants. So far, I got 3 so far, okay, in this study. So a pilot study was done beforehand, before I did the actual study. And then I proceeded with the 3 interviews with the 3 informants, okay, before the observation took place. Okay, after the interviews, I went and observed them in their classrooms to observe how they taught the 3 concepts of CP. Okay, after that, I gather their responses and feedback. Okay, their emotions, their thoughts, about teaching the 3 concepts of CP to their students. And their students were about 15 to 16 years old. and then I analyzed the data, and I reported in 4 conferences and 2 published papers. Okay, so this study entailed 3 stages. Okay, first will be the semi-structured interview, and then after finishing the interview with them, okay, in the same week or the next week, I arranged to observe their classes in how they teach the 3CP concepts. Okay, in the semi-structured interviews, they were also exposed to the 3 concepts. Okay, it was a very lengthy discussion with them in which I showed them all, the concepts and all, and gave them materials for their lesson plans. Okay, and then the semi-structured interviews take place after the observation. All right, after that, the 3 teachers kindly shared all the documents they had, for example, textbooks, okay, lesson plans, okay, as well as literary texts. And then I did the analysis, I conducted the analysis together with the supervision of my supervisors. All right, and so far, Brown and Clark 6-step analysis was used, okay, for me to identify the codes and the themes, okay, and then I reported the findings here. So as I mentioned just now, I used Brown and Clark, okay, 6-step analysis, okay, to get the themes, to code the data, and to extract the themes. And I also use this with the aid of i-LEdHS TI. Okay, so these are the findings and discussion. There were 3 teachers. So I1 was one of them, I2 and I3. So I1 had 10 years of experience. During the class observation, she finished all the 3 concepts, okay, and taught the students. All right, I2 also completed the 3 concepts. All right, I3 with 9 years of experience taught the 2 concepts because the last concepts required more time, and the class hour was only around 1 hour. Okay, so these were the findings. So the first concept was the Gestalt psychology, okay, called figures and ground. Yeah, so this helped the students to identify the foreground and the background. Okay, all right. And here, okay, according to the informers, this concept was the easiest of the 3 concepts. The students were able to use the concept very quickly in class to identify the foreground, the characters, and the background is the setting of the poem. So this division of thoughts is a natural process, and it helps the mind, the brain, to filter the information. So this was the result, all right, in a classroom observation conducted, on I2's lesson, I1, informant 1. So it was very interesting that the male students, okay, displayed their understanding of a poem. The poem was by Charles Cosley, entitled What Happened to Lulu, yeah? So they read the poem and then they acted out their interpretation by singing out a song, making a song, and strumming the guitar. Whereas this was the result by the female students, so they extracted the foreground, the characters as the foreground, and the background as the setting of the poem. And another student, a female student, even ventured by writing a letter to the mother, yeah, imagining that she was the character, and she wrote a letter to her mother expressing her frustration. So this is the second concept called prototypes and reading. Okay, so this talk about 3 different layers of vocabulary: the most common, the less common, and the rare. Okay, so during the class observation, the teachers encourage the students to define their mother. Yeah, so so the word loving defined the common. It usually constituted the common vocabulary for mother, loving. Mom is loving. The second is less common, mother is a companion, and this is a very rare vocab for a mother, a biological parent. Okay, all right. So during the class observations conducted, okay, in the 3 observations, in this concept, yeah, all right, okay, the students will distinguish whether the reality that they stay, that they know, all right, is different or same as the world in the text, yeah, in the literary text. So here, all right, the teacher shared the concept of discursive and mental spaces. Okay, already shared their opinion that it was the most difficult concept to teach because why? The students need a longer time to engage their imagination in full capacity. So, all right, here, according to a class observation, in I2 specifically, in I2's class, I2 probed her students with questions that made them reflect whether the characters were logical or illogical. Okay, whether it really happened in the real world or no. Yeah, all right, okay. So that is a sample of this concept, yeah, disposable and mental spaces. So by using this concept, students also were able to come up with possible solution. For example, there were problems in the literary text. So back, all right, how they view their world, okay, they came up with actual problem solving techniques, yeah, to help the characters, okay, and they discuss how to help the characters in the poem. Okay, all right. And also they affirm that, okay, all right, this study affirmed that humans are endowed with knowledge, motivation, aspirations, and experience. So, all right, by connecting the two worlds, they were able to use language to communicate the encounters that they face. Okay, all right. So here I would like to explain, yeah, okay, that the three teachers gave their responses and feedback after the class observation. So based on I1's experience in teaching the three concepts during the class observation, she shared that the CP approach that she used made teaching English language and literature easier. Yeah, whereas for I2, she also gave positive feedback, but she said that those concepts were not new. She had been using them even though that she did not know it was cognitive poetics. And then for I3, all right, he said that all right, it was very all right, it was not conducive, yeah, okay, it was not effective to teach English language, English literature and the three concepts to students. Yeah, initially before the class observation, he said that CP approach seemed to be easier, but after the class observation and after teaching the three concepts or the two concepts, okay, that he managed to teach, he found that teaching proficiency was easier than teaching English literature. Okay, so in summary, the teachers believe that the CP approach could be taught to students by introducing them to the concepts indirectly, meaning, all right, in future lessons, okay, students should not be given the images, yeah, the concepts and the diagrams, yeah. So CP approach could only be used by teachers in helping them to plan lessons, and teachers should use simplified language, yeah, simplify the concepts as well. So I3 proposed that CP approach and teaching English literature shouldn't be done at all, okay, because the subject was too complicated for students, okay. And all in all, okay, CP approach would be more suitable for tertiary education. So thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for listening to my class.
Yes, thank you for presenting also, Dr. Suhaila. There was a very elaborative presentation on how we could employ cognitive poetics approach in teaching literature among our students.
Thank you.
Before I open for Q&A session, just in case I might forget what I want to ask, just a little question. Do you think this is also applicable for Malay literature, Doctor? This is English, yeah.
Dr. Suryani, based on the concepts, I think they can be used for Malay literature, Sastra Melayu, as well as Chinese and all. So
any literature
in any language, but it is best according to the three informants. The teachers say it is best to be used in university instead of secondary.
Because one informant mentioned that was considered quite complicated for school students, right? And what is your feedback to that feedback? What is your feedback on the feedback given by the informant about the suitability of the lesson for school students?
So for me, what I did for my thesis, right, doctor, was that I just put it that it is not suitable for secondary school students, and then I made a conceptual model only for university students. To be
sorry, there's something missing here. When you mention not suitable, are you referring to poetic approach or the literature component in English or in language course?
I see.
Which one is actually not suitable? The literature component or the approach?
The approach, doctor.
The approach.
Concepts were not suitable, but there's another interesting finding, doctor. According to the teachers, teaching literature is tiresome. They don't like to teach literature anymore, and especially With the existence of CEFR will stamp English literature altogether from the syllabus.
I see. All right. So it is more focusing on the proficiency course rather than on literature component, right? Yeah, I think that's understood.
Yeah.
Perhaps in our context, in Malaysian context, because we are non-native speakers of English, so our at school level, maybe it's fair for us to focus more on proficiency and let be the ESP or more critical aspect of language learning at the tertiary level. Yeah, that could be one of the input for our consideration.
True,
Right?
I agree, Doctor.
Yeah, and it is also interesting to find out that in other countries, they use different approaches, like read aloud approach and storytelling. Maybe that could be a bit more appealing to the students. Because like storytelling, students like to use storytelling approach, drama and things like that. All right, so let us now open the floor for Q&A session.
Thank you.
Yes, anybody would like to ask questions while our speaker is still here for us? No? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay, right. So I guess everything is clear now. Thank you so much. All right, please stay with us for our next presentation. We're going to listen to Mrs. Shafinas binti Shafi'i on the role of technology in teaching early mathematics, a conceptual framework for preschool education. Wow, this must be also very interesting. So let us call upon Mrs. Shafinas, our presenter today. Thank you.
Good day, everyone, panel members and fellow researchers. My name is Shafinas binti Shafi'i from Faculty of Human Development of University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. Together, on behalf of my co-authors, I'm honored to present our study entitled Role of Technology in Teaching Early Mathematics, a Conceptual Framework for Preschool Educations. Rapid development advancement are transforming early childhood educations, enhancing pedagogy and learning environments. Preschoolers are increasingly exposed to digital tools that support early math skills, necessitating a guiding framework for effective integrations. Therefore, technology offers valuable opportunities to enhance both teaching strategies and children's learning experiences in early mathematics educations. In short, technology is no longer optional but essential in shaping early learning experiences. Digital technologies in early childhood educations include wide range of digital tools such as tablet, smartphone, computers, interactive whiteboard, artificial intelligence system, and educational applications. In Malaysia, curriculum framework such as KSBK and upcoming KP 2026 highlight the importance of digital literacy and 21st century's learning skills. This development emphasizes the need for the educators to integrate technologies effectively into preschool mathematics instructions. This study was conducted based on three main objectives. First, to identify the types of technology used in early childhood educations. Second, to examine the role of digital technology in early childhood educations. And the last objective is to propose a conceptual framework that use technology in teaching early mathematics. Thus, to achieve this objective, three research questions were developed. First, the first question examined the type of technology used in early childhood educations. The second research question is focus on identifying the educational roles of digital technologies. And the last question specifically explore how technology support mathematics teachings among preschool children. For methodology, this study employed a conceptual research designed using a systematic literature review approaches guided by Prisma framework. We collected articles from multiple academic databases, including Scopus, Web of Science, Eric Springer, and MDPI. The literature review covered studies published between 2010 and 2025 to ensure relevance and recent development in educational technology. And initially, 106 articles were identified through database searches. After applying inclusion and exclusion criteria, 89 articles were removed due to limited relevance and methodological issues. Finally, only 70 studies were selected and analyzed thematically to address the research questions. This review identified several commonly used technology in early childhood educations, such as educational applications, interactive whiteboard, augmented reality activities, artificial intelligence system, robotic and coding tools, tablet and mobile learning platform, and smart toys. These support children engagement and learning through the digital tools to enhance their abilities and experiences in learning. Let's look at the key roles of technology in early mathematics. There are four dominant roles in teaching early mathematics using the roles of technology. First, enhancing conceptual understanding, promoting engagement and motivational, supporting differentiated learning, and last but not least, facilitating teachers' instruction and assessment. This study promotes a conceptual framework for technology integration. This framework illustrated the interconnected role of digital tools, pedagogical strategies, and learning outcomes, highlighting how effective technology integration enhance preschool mathematics education and promote holistic learning experiences. There are three main components in this framework. First, digital technologies as digital tools such as applications, artificial intelligence system, and augmented reality technologies. Second, pedagogical strategies including play-based learning, inquiry-based learning, gamification, and differentiated instructions. Third, learning outcomes, which include improved conceptual understanding, increased engagement, individuals' learning development, and enhanced teaching effectiveness. This framework demonstrates the interconnected relationship between technology, pedagogy, and learning outcomes in early mathematics education. In conclusions, technology plays a significant role in early mathematics education by transforming pedagogical approaches and learning environment. Digital tools support conceptual understanding, enhancing engagement, and improve instructional effectiveness. effectiveness. The proposed conceptual framework provides a structured guideline for educators, researchers, and policymakers in implementing technology support early mathematics teachings. Okay, thank you very much for your attentions. I welcome any questions or discussion regarding this study. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So the author is inviting questions from the audience. Any questions? Thank you, Mrs. Shafinas. Yes. Any questions from the floor about the use of technology in teaching early math among preschool education? No questions? Then I have a question to ask, if you don't mind. All right. I've got two concerns actually. Number one, you mentioned about the selection of documents being examined. From 100 plus, it was filtered to 87. And after considering the inclusion criteria, it was left to only 17. So if it's possible for you to share with us what are the inclusion criteria that has brought down the number from 87 to 17, and that is number one. All right, and I have another question. Your opinion in terms of possibility to implement this, considering that using digital tools at preschool level could be a bit costly. So a possibility of this proposal being implemented, do you think that is feasible in coming years? All right, so just a quick question for me. If you could respond to that, I would be very grateful.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay, I try to answer the first question regarding the inclusion criteria and the exclusion criteria. We have 106 paper from Web Science and Scopus, but only 17 been selected because of there's a duplicate studies, and then we have a few articles that are not related with the topic, mainly focused on ECE, which is early childhood education. And for inclusion, we only include papers study only in ECE for teaching mathematics only. Okay, for papers include children age between 6 and below.
Oh, 6 and below. All right. Okay. So few studies, I would say, have been carried out.
Yes, that's why we only found we only focus on 17 studies. 17.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. How about the second one? Do you think that's feasible for us to implement this kind of suggestions to use technology?
Okay. Basically, I'm a preschool teacher, and I'm pursuing my PhD in mathematics. ECE for mathematics, focus on mathematics. So for my thesis, I'm doing digitals as one of elements to be implement to prasekolah, okay, kanak-kanak prasekolah. So nowadays children are exposed to digital tools because they have free and easy access to gadget. So we don't have to really assist them how to use the digital tools. For example, I have one module using AR activities, augmented reality activities, and the children freely can use AR activities during my lesson. And also for this digital tools, digital technology to be used in teaching instructions in preschool, actually we want to instill the digital literacy among the youngest. As KPM also ask we have the digital dasar pendigitalan pendidikan. That's why we implement this to ECE area.
So this goes in line with the national policy of
Yes.
dasar penjitilan. But if I'm not mistaken, your study is was situated in Selangor, right? Was it in Selangor? Your
No.
data collection. Oh, so sorry. This is the
From
review. Oh, yeah. But you mentioned just now you had experience with your own preschool students.
yes, because
Yes.
I'm
Where are you currently teaching?
I'm teaching in Penang, and
Penang.
currently in my school there are three classes of prasekolah, including 75 children
It would
between
be
6.
it would be interesting to perhaps to compare preschool education in Penang and other states, because yours could be a bit in advance. We know Penang as compared to other states. Maybe that would be a good comparison.
Yes,
Yeah, in terms of exposure.
can be my next research study.
Yeah. Because it will be. We're talking about
New,
demographic data.
interesting topic actually. That one.
Yeah. Okay. Readiness. In terms of state of readiness for each state on the implementation of policy penjitilan. At preschool level. Right, thank you very much. So another one more question to ask. If anyone would like to ask questions, we've got 15 members in this group, in this session. Right, so everybody is happy. Okay, thank you. We will now move to the fourth presentation, integrating the concept of muraqabah and amanah in teaching training for violence preventive pedagogy. And the presenter is brought all the way from Indonesia, right, Mr. Harold Al-Aziz. So let's welcome Mr. Harold. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. Thank you to the organizers for the kind invitation and opportunity. Before I say anything else, I want to acknowledge something. Maybe many of you here watching this video are educators, researchers, or people who care deeply about what happens inside our schools. This topic is close to your hearts. It is close to mine too, because what I'm about to talk about is not just an academic problem, it is a human one. Before we proceed, I would like to ask you a simple question to reflect on. Have you ever lost your temper when you felt disrespected? You do not need to raise your hand. Just think about it honestly. Maybe it was a colleague who dismissed your idea in a meeting. Maybe it was someone who cut in front of you in queue. Maybe it was a moment at home, someone you love said something that stung, and before you even decided to, you snapped back. Now imagine that happening every single day. Not once, not twice, every single day. That is the classroom some of our teachers walk into every morning, and we are surprised when they burn out. The topic we are discussing today is increasingly important as it shapes how we understand and respond to current social and academic challenges, specifically keeping our classrooms safe. In Indonesia alone, data from 2024 tells us that more than 1 in 10 teachers experienced some form of student violence last year. 1 in 10. And when we say violence, we do not only mean fists. We mean a student screaming at teacher in front of the class, a student filming and mocking their teacher online, and teacher being reported to the police for daring to discipline a child. This is not a small problem, and it's getting worse, not better. In this presentation, I will share 3 key ideas that may help us better understand this issue and explore possible ways forward. The first is the problem itself, why teacher authority is crumbling and why it is breaking the people who teach our children. The second is why the solution we already have are not enough. And the third, and this is the heart of what I want to share today, is a new approach, one that does not start with rules, cameras, or punishment, one that starts from the inside. Let us begin by looking at the broader background that frames this discussion, which is the breakdown of respect in our schools. Here is something important to understand. For most of the last century, teachers had what we call positional authority. It means you respect the teacher because the school says you must. The teacher has a title. The teacher has power. Full stop. The system has collapsed, and it has collapsed for real reasons. not because students become evil, but because the world changed. Child protection law, social media, parents who believe their child over the school, culture where authority must be earned, not assumed. None of that is necessary bad, but here is the problem nobody is talking about clearly enough. We took away the old system of authority, but we gave teachers nothing to replace it with. So now we have teachers standing in front of classroom, tired, unsupported, and increasingly afraid, holding a title that no longer means what it used to mean. And when a student pushes them, threatens them, humiliates them in front of 30 other children, what happens? The teacher's brain, after weeks or months of this, simply runs out of patience. This is not a character flaw, this is neuroscience. Chronic stress fuels the body with cortisol, and cortisol over time damages the part of the brain responsible for calm, measured responses. The teacher who lost it was not weak, they were running on empathy. And here's the tragic part. When a tired, depleted teacher finally reacts in anger, the situation gets worse. The student escalates, the class watches, the relationship breaks, and the cycle starts again. We call this the limbic cycle, and right now it is spinning in most classrooms across Indonesia and around the world. So what are we doing about it? Mostly we are doing three things. We install cameras, we issue stricter rules, and we tell teachers to practice something called social emotional learning to be more empathetic, more patient, and more emotionally intelligent. And I want to say clearly that the intention behind all of this is good. The research behind social emotional learning is solid. Restorative justice, the idea of repairing relationship instead of just punishing, genuinely works in many schools. But there is a limit. Think of a teacher's emotional patience like a phone battery. In normal condition, reasonable student, a sportive school, occasional difficult days, social emotional learning keeps that battery charged. It works. But put that same teacher under sustained attack week after week of hostility, disrespect, and zero institutional support, now the battery is at 2%. And a secular framework, a professional obligation, a training manual, a school policy cannot recharge what has been spiritually and emotionally trained, because those tools speak to the head, they give techniques, but they do not speak to the deepest layer of person, to what they truly believe, to who they answer to what holds them steady when everything else is falling apart. For a teacher whose identity is rooted in fight, and in Indonesia, the vast majority of teachers are people of fight, that deepest layer is spiritual, and we have been ignoring it completely. In this context, we aren't just looking at one type of book, we are combining two different worlds of knowledge. The first is primary theological sources, which the sources come from Quran, Hadith, and classical scholars like Al-Ghazali and Al-Hasibi. The purpose is to provide the foundation. It tells us the sacred rules for how a teacher should act. At the second, psychological literature. The source come from modern science on teacher burnout, stress, and classroom management. The purpose is to provide the context. It tells us what is happening in classroom right now. To combine both knowledges, we need the translation machine because we have a challenge. How do we take 2000-year-old religious idea and make it work in 2026 classroom? In this research, we have our three golden rules for translation. The first is semantic faithfulness, which means stay true, don't change the holy meaning of the word. The second is functional correspondence, which means make it work. It must actually help a teacher stay calm. And the last is additive value, which means add value. It should be stronger than just a school rule because it is promised to God. As an analogy, it is like a powerful engine, which means theology, and putting it into a modern car, which means a classroom. One important insight from this discussion is that small shift in perspective can lead to change significantly, especially how a teacher views a difficult student. This brings me to most important idea I want to share today. We call it the spiritual preventive approach, and it is built on two concepts from the Islamic tradition. The first is called muraqabah. It is an Arabic word that means divine consciousness, the awareness at every moment that God is watching, not to punish you, but to witness you, to see your intention, your reaction, your internal state. Now, when a student insults a teacher in front of the class, the natural human reaction is to feel attacked, to want to fight back. That is the limbic reaction. That is the ego responding. But the teacher who has genuinely internalized muraqabah does something different. Before they respond, they pause, not because they force themselves to count to 10, but because in that moment they are aware of something larger than the provocation in front of them. Classical scholars describe this as monitoring the soul before the mouth opens. Modern psychology describes something remarkably similar, metacognition, the ability to observe your own thoughts before acting on them. Same mechanism, 2000 years apart, and one something the other cannot, a transcendent reason to hold steady even when everything in you wants to break. The second concept is called amanah. It means trust, or more specifically, a sacred and trusted responsibility. Here is the idea. In the Islamic worldview, a student is not your subordinate. They are not your problem. They are not your enemy. They are a trust, something precious and fragile, placed in your care temporarily by God. Nothing about does the teacher internal question during a conflict. The old question, the ego question is, how dare you speak to me that way? The Amanah question is, what is happening to you that has brought you to this moment? One question closes a door, the other opens one. And this is the practical beauty of this shift. It does not ask the teacher to feel warm toward a student who is behaving badly. It asks them to see the student differently, not as a threat, as a fragile trust that is currently malfunctioning and needs careful hands. That reframe does not require infinite emotional resources. It requires a different orientation, and that orientation can be trained. This is what we call the spiritual preventive nexus. Everything starts here. We need to begin from the foundation, the big promise, al-amanah al-ula. Before a teacher enters the room, they must accept their role as a steward or khalifa or ra'in. The key point here is the teacher is not just a manager, they are a protector of sacred gift. And here we have a secret sequence why step one, muraqabah comes before step two, amanah. Because the problem is you cannot be kind or amanah if you are currently screaming or angry. So the rule is muraqabah is the prerequisite. A teacher must use muraqabah to calm their own heart first. If the teacher is not calm, they will see the student as an enemy. If the teacher is calm, self-regulated, they can finally see the student as a trust. This is not just a religious idea, it matches modern science. Muraqabah as an antecedent, fixing the feeling before it turns into an action, like catching a spark before it starts a fire. And amanah as a response, choosing the right action after you have calmed down, like putting the fire out with water instead of gasoline. From this nexus, we can learn there is a shift. We move, we move from the student is attacking me to the student is a trust who is struggling. And the goal, we don't need metal detectors if the teacher has a spiritual preventive heart. It means you cannot de-escalate a student until you have first de-escalated yourself. This idea is important because it offers a practical way for us to rethink how we approach this issue, starting from the inside out. We translated these two concepts into a three-phase training curriculum for teachers, not a one-day workshop and then back to normal, a sustained institutional program. In the first phase, teachers practice daily self-reflection, 10-15 minutes at the end of each day. In the second phase, teachers work together in workshop. They practice reframing their most difficult students through the lens of amanah. They rehearse conflict scenarios, not to perform patience, but to build a new set of instincts. In the third phase, the whole school community becomes the support structure. Weekly circles, monthly reviews, annual moments, and of renewal, what we call renewing the intention. To summarize, today we explore three key ideas: the context, the challenges, the possibility moving forward. We look at how teacher authority has eroded not because of bad student, but because of a world that changed faster then our institution could respond. We look at why the tools we have, rules, cameras, professional empathy training have a ceiling, and why the ceiling is reached faster in the presence of deeply held fight than we have knowledge. And look at what it might mean to build the solution from the inside out, to give teachers not just a technique, but a reason, not just a skill, but a foundation. I want to leave you with one image. Imagine a teacher standing at the front of classroom. There is no camera on the wall. There is no guard at the door. There is just a person who has done the inner work, who knows who they are, who sees the difficult student in front of them not as a threat, but as a trust. The teacher does not need a rule to stay calm. They are calm. The teacher does not need a policy to treat the student with dignity. Dignity is what they carry. The safest classroom is not the most watched one. It is the one led by the most transformed person. And yes, this has not yet been empirically tested at scale. We are honest about that. This is a theoretical framework and an invitation to researchers to test it rigorously. But the logic holds, the psychological parallels are shown, and the anecdotal evidence from teachers who live this principle naturally, not as a program but as a way of being, suggests that the direction is right. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation as well, Mr. Hairul. Mr. Hairul is here with us. Yes, that was a very meaningful insights on how we can actually be calm in this world full of frustrations, especially in teaching career. We know these days it becomes very challenging. Like what Mr. Hairul mentioned, the problem might not be the students per se, but the environment they are in these days is different from the environment we used to live in before, and that poses very challenging career for teachers to carry out their task. Right. While this is so soothing for us to hear, we can still be calm. Do you think, I believe it is easier said than done. It is not easy for us for our teachers to have this notion in mind that religious, how we can actually follow what is taught by our religion, so that can make them what I call it better in carrying out their task. Don't you think that this actually requires collaborative effort from many parties to make it happen? Okay, what do you think? My question, what do you think is the role of teachers and schools, and perhaps the authority in helping teachers to go through these kind of challenges, while at the same time they can produce the students who can actually what do you call it, who are spiritually and physically balanced? Okay, all right. Do you have any input on that? Yeah, how can the government, the school, or the teacher, parents, society at school can help teachers, yeah, to handle these students screaming, mocking them in classes or online? Okay.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to apologize because actually I'm on the journey and I supposed to come earlier to my destination, but I'm stuck in somewhere. So
Okay, no worries. Right, let's make it quick.
yeah,
Okay.
so I'm sorry if the condition is not conducive because I'm in terminal right now. But
Yeah.
I try to answer the question. Yeah, when we saw the video, maybe some people can claim that this is all the mistake is in the teacher, right? But actually,
Mm.
this is the problem is need to solve by the collaborative, not just an teacher itself, but also we need the dynamic cycle. But firstly, need to the first people who need to uh, begin is from teacher itself, and then also the management and also the parent itself, because actually the student is underage and they get influence actually from the parents, what they get from the parents itself, they yeah, show it in the classroom like that, something like that. So actually this is not the teacher's mistake only, but also all of the environment where the student is stay and live, it influences them. And we need the dynamic cycle. And the first, the teacher need a big what can I say, the intention, and also they need to have a strong mentality, and then yeah, as I mentioned in the video, the muraqabah in amanah itself.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I guess any questions? Very quick ones, because our speaker is on his way to his destination at the terminal. Was that bus terminal or what? Train terminal? Okay. No questions? Oh yeah, there's a question here by Miss Nur Hafizan. Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Okay, first of all, I'd like to ask Brother Khairul, are you graduated from UIA or still studying there?
I'm still studying. I'm doing PhD right now.
Okay, it's good to know because I graduated from UIA as well. Okay, first of all, I would like to express that I appreciate when I see that you incorporate the idea of muraqabah. And then when I firstly heard your video, I mean, I watched the video of your presentation, and then what came to my heart and my mind is that I could relate it as a parent as well. And then I think my personal point of view is this framework is not just applicable to teachers, and generally it can be applicable to the parent as well. You know that yeah, muraqabah, that's the term, is referring to the pause, right? We need to pause before we show our reaction, right? Yeah. And then the pause is very important. And then I never know about the term muraqabah, and it's good to know that today. And then I think all of us as educators, even as a parent, we should implement this. And then I think it's very good because I am as a mother, you know, I often experience, you know, the situation where our kids respond to us disrespectfully, and then we express our feedback, not in a tone that we want to educate, but because we think we are parents, and then they have to respect us. And then the same goes as when we teach our kids, and then when we teach our students, you know, sometimes when they show disrespectful behaviors, and then we always think that I'm a teacher, I'm a lecturer, and then you should show some respect, right? And then it's good to know that as a term muraqabah, we have to pause, and then we should not let our emotion to influence us, and then we should consider them as our amanah. And then thank you so much. I appreciate your research so much. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so I guess there are no further questions from the floor. Dr. Suhaila, would you like to say something? No? No, all right.
No,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Mr. Khairul, we wish you safe trip to your destination. Right, so we will now move to the fifth presentation by our speaker, Wan Nur Fazliza Wan Zakaria, on the title Metacognitive Strategies as Predictors of Malaysian Undergraduates English Language Performance. So let's welcome Ms. Wan Nur Fazliza Wan Zakaria. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. I'm honored to be here at i-LEdHS 2026. My name is Wan Nur Fazliza, and today I'll be presenting our study titled Metacognitive Strategies as Predictors of Malaysian Undergraduates English Language Performance. This research was a collaborative effort with my colleagues Muhammad Faiz and Nur Amalina, and we are from UiTM Kelantan branch. Our goal was to look beyond what students learn and instead focus on how they manage their own thinking processes during language acquisition. Let's begin with the introduction. Reading is often called the foundation of language mastery. It is not just about identifying words, it's about being exposed to vocabulary, grammar, and discourse patterns in meaningful contexts. However, reading is an incredibly complex cognitive task. It requires learners to possess not only strong linguistic skills, but also the ability to effectively monitor and regulate their own thinking in real time. We often see ESL learners struggle with comprehension. This is because they lack these higher order strategies. Additionally, in many cases, a teacher's preference for specific, limited strategies can actually hinder a student's ability to tackle unfamiliar or complex texts. This makes it vital for us to understand how cognitive strategies like planning, monitoring, and evaluating can bridge this gap. Due to the struggles that the language learners experienced in reading comprehension and the language teachers' challenges in reading instruction, the present study aimed to examine the relationship between the use of three specific metacognitive strategies, namely planning, monitoring, and evaluating, and the overall English language performance of ESL learners at a public university in Malaysia. While past research has thoroughly documented how these strategies help with immediate reading comprehension, there is a lack of evidence regarding how they translate to long-term academic success. So by using SPM English result as our metric for performance, we aim to see if these reading strategies actually predict a student's standardized achievement level. Now, I will situate my study within the existing literature. Metacognitive is famously defined as thinking about thinking. Flavel, who firstly introduced the concept in 1979, argued that learners with metacognitive awareness can plan, monitor, and evaluate their progress. This is the skill that he deemed vital for second language mastery. Later, researchers like O'Malley and Chamot categorized these as higher order strategies. This is because the strategies empower students to become independent and accountable for their own learning. In the Malaysian context, recent studies have confirmed that tertiary learners who employ these reading strategies demonstrate much stronger comprehension abilities. And we wanted to build on this by seeing if this executive function truly determines broader academic performance. Pertaining to research methodology section, we employed a correlational research design to analyze the data that we gathered from 361 undergraduates. Our data collection involved a 35-question instrument adopted from Paketi, which measured strategy use on a 5-point Likert scale. To ensure our findings were statistically sound, we conducted a normality test. Using skewness to measure asymmetry of our distribution of data, we found a value of negative 0.534. Since this falls comfortably between the -1 and 1 range, we were confident that our data followed a symmetrical, bell-shaped distribution suitable for a robust analysis. The next step involves determining the reliability measure for the measuring items in our questionnaire. To ensure our questionnaire was a reliable tool, we calculated Colbrook's alpha for each metacognitive strategy. All three strategies, namely planning, monitoring, and evaluating, scored between 0.879 and 0.910. These high values mean our instrument was exceptionally consistent in measuring how students actually think about their reading. In this section, I will outline the participant profile. The descriptive analysis of this study includes respondents' gender distribution, study program, and SPM English results. Out of 361 total respondents, 75.3% were female and 24.7% were male. The respondents were undergraduates from diploma and bachelor's degree programs. As for the respondents' SPM English results, most were high achievers. They were the ones who scored A plus to B plus grade, with B plus being the most common achievement. I will now move to research findings section. Let's look at the results. Our aim was to determine the relationship between metacognitive strategies, planning, monitoring, and evaluating, and respondents' ESL performance. So, Spearman's rank order correlation test was performed. The results showed that all three variables, planning, monitoring, and evaluating, had significant relationships with SPM English results, with p-values of 0.001. About the R values, they were negative 0.168 for planning, negative 0.255 for monitoring, and negative 0.265 for evaluating. This therefore indicates weak correlations. And I would like to highlight that because SPM English grades were coded in ascending order, where a 1 is an A plus while a 10 is a G, it means that the higher numbers are the lower grades. These negative correlations actually signify a positive outcomes. It means that higher use of metacognitive strategies is associated with significantly better English achievements. This therefore aligns with previous research showing that good readers consistently outperform poor ones in their use of metacognitive strategies. Next, a point of discussion in our study is that while the correlations were significant, they were statistically weak. And this suggests that the use of metacognitive strategy alone does not explain the full variance in language performance. As supported by Lin in 2019, factors like gender, reading task types, and even L1 literacy experience do play a role. Furthermore, researchers have found that even advanced learners with high awareness of metacognitive strategies do not always translate their knowledge into practice. This means that knowing how to plan, for example, is not enough. Students must be prompted by their teachers to actually do it during reading tasks. I would like to present some implications of our study in this section. The findings offer critical insights into language instructors' role in improving their pedagogical approaches, which aim to enhance ESL learners' reading comprehension and their overall learning outcomes. One suggested approach that can be incorporated into ESL classrooms is the Think Aloud protocol. This approach requires teachers to model how proficient readers monitor and regulate their comprehension in real time, and other learners are subsequently asked to perform their think alouds in pairs or groups. Over time, we believe that they begin to internalize these metacognitive behaviors and monitor their comprehension independently. This indirectly allows ESL learners to nurture metacognitive awareness as they progress to become more conscious readers who are able to plan, monitor, and evaluate their comprehension while reading. Before I conclude, I must note that our study relied on self-reported data, and this can be subject to bias. Besides, the limited strength of the observed predictor, that is SPM English results, also narrows the findings scope. And we would like to suggest that metacognitive strategy use alone may not sufficiently explain variations in language performance among the Malaysian ESL students. Other factors such as motivation, language exposure, instructional methods, or socio-economic background may play a more substantial role in shaping students' language outcomes. So, for future research, we recommend using actual reading performance tests and investigating moderating variables like motivation or socio-economic background so that we are able to explain the weak relationships observed deeply. In conclusion, metacognitive strategies are indeed valid predictors of language performance. By explicitly teaching these strategies, we can significantly improve learning outcomes for the Malaysian ESL students. That is all from me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation as well, Ms. Wan Nur Fazliza. We now open the floor for Q&A session. This will be very relevant to us. Most of us are language teachers and we teach language proficiency. So this is the approach, metacognitive strategies, using metacognitive strategies. One of them is reading aloud as recommended by our author here. Any input or maybe questions or any concern you would like to share? Oh, yeah, many of our participants are so excited. Okay, no one to say something? As usual, I would have one. All right, my concern about the study, first, now you mentioned just now, this is, what do you call it, the language proficiency level examined in this study is SPM, right? Meaning that your respondents are school children. Which year? From Form 5, Form 3?
No, Dr. Su. They are our students, diploma and also degree students.
Oh, okay. Sorry. This sort of this is like a reflective method on how they actually learn the language, and based on their. Okay, this is something quite not to say worrying, but something to be considered whether or not they actually reported the real thing that they did before they took SPM English language paper. Right, but you did admit that as one of the limitations you mentioned about this is self-report data and that could introduce bias. Okay, fine. Another concern is about the questionnaire. In responding to the questionnaire, you mentioned how students actually think about the way how they learn the language. Yeah. Now, when we respond, when they respond to such question, this is self-reported of how they think. Okay. Don't you think that this is actually some data of perceptions? So,
All right.
perhaps you could consider putting somewhere in your title is a perceived metacognitive strategies.
Okay.
As predictors, because this is actually what they perceive. After conducting your suggested future research, okay, you mentioned about one ways how they can do that. If that can be statistically, scientifically proven, then we can remove the word perceived, because you can be kind of sure that we have scientific measurement on that. Otherwise, if this is just the way they respond themselves, the students just give their perception, then it becomes perception data. So it's safer for you to consider. Use the term, but that would be just my opinion. Yeah, that's the thing I would like to share, and I hope it would be something for your consideration. All right, can we have any further input? I guess this is a serious work for maybe future doctor to proceed with her research, doctoral research or something. So we welcome any input to help our presenter with her studies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Dr.
Suhaila.
Suryani, may I ask you, all right,
Yes.
I would like to ask you, if let's say it's a study of perceptions, all right, and we are gathering opinions and the beliefs of the students, I would like to ask you if a qualitative study will be better for this nature of study, or we could stick to quantitative.
Okay, from my opinion, I think it could be either one, depending on the kind of data and analysis. Because if we interview, then we get qualitative data, then that is still also based on their perception. And then when they respond to questionnaire, based on the opinion, and they have to mark their answer according to the scale. So that would be quantitatively analyzed. So it's actually, it is not a matter of qualitative or quantitative, but the kind of data that we get from them. And both can be perceptions. If that is based on their opinion.
I see.
Unless we have scientific measurement done and it is done correctly, then we can be sure to remove the word perception. That's the way I see it. Maybe other participants would like to add to that. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Dr. Suhaila?
Thank you. I get additional knowledge from you, doctor. Thank you so much.
A little knowledge about that. Yes. All right. So any further questions, maybe? Okay, Doctor. We are now moving to our sixth presentation that will be by Dr. Siti Nur Aisyah Hasnan on the title, The Silent Architect, Students' Perceptions on Literary Leisure Reading and Its Influence on English Writing Proficiency. So yes, this is a real, this is another study, is a study on students' perceptions. Yeah, let's listen to Dr. Siti Nur Aisyah. Thank you. It's yours. The floor is yours, Doctor. Okay, you can play now.
I'm Siti Nur Aisyah binti Hasnan. I'll be presenting the paper for International Conference on Language Education, Humanities and Social Sciences, i-LEdHS 2026. So this particular paper is the Silent Architect, Students' Perceptions of Literary Leisure Reading and its Influence on English Writing Proficiency, CE 27. introduction. So in the teaching and learning of English language, there is a limitation between classroom or academic instructions and also students self-directed consumption of English literature. And in order for one to actually develop or enhance English language proficiency, they actually need to develop a habit of reading or the love for reading. And that is why Stephen Krashen in 1997 actually examined leisure reading or pleasure reading, or what he called as free voluntary reading, FVR, specifically in the acquisition of first, second, and also foreign language. So he believed that students prefer to read short or less heavy materials like comics and also short story. And most of the students here, like most of the students, we expected that most students love reading other than heavy reading materials or heavy topics, but then they tend to develop the love of reading, especially towards literature, and it is expected of TESOL and also English major students to like have a reading preference towards literature. Hence, this paper examines students' perceptions of engagement in literary reading for leisure and its impacts on their English proficiency, specifically English writing skills or performance. Next, I will briefly explain the literature review part, focusing on reading for leisure or free voluntary reading, FVR, in teaching and learning specifically. So basically, Stephen Krashen, 1997, examined the act of reading for one's pleasure, or what he defines as free voluntary reading, FVR. So he asserted that he asserted the use of FVR as a classroom approach or classroom method, so that teachers, they argued that students perceive FVR as a positive method, especially when it comes to the generation of ideas or contents, rather than like the mechanical or technical parts like grammar and so on. Meanwhile, Chang 2011 highlighted that FVR increased students' cognitive capacity in the technical craft of English writing skills. And then, according to Bautista and Marulander 2018, they actually conducted pre and post tests among 24 more sophisticated vocabularies when it comes to English writing. So the next part is the problem statement. Based on current and also past studies or researches, previous researchers examine reading habits among ESL or EFL learners, so whether to look at the impacts on English writing proficiency or even English reading skills itself. And then some of them studied VR approaches or in the classroom, and also the enhancements or development of English writing skills, or again any other English language proficiencies. And research which focus on leisure reading, specifically reading literary materials like novels, poetry, short stories, fiction or non-fiction as a habit, is still limited, especially in the context of its impacts on self-perceived English writing performance. research objectives. So the study aims to identify students' literary leisure reading habits, including frequency of reading, genre preferences, and also motivations. It also investigates students' perceptions regarding the connection between their self-selected literary reading habits and their self-perceived English writing competencies. The study also determines the specific areas of English writing proficiency, such as vocabulary, syntax, grammar, etc., that students believe are most influenced by the habit of leisure reading, literary leisure reading. These are the research questions. So the study aims to answer the following research questions. The first one, what are the current patterns and attitudes of students towards reading English literature for leisure? The second one, how do students perceive the role of literary leisure reading in shaping their overall confidence and competence in English writing? And then the last one, to what extent do students believe that engaging with literary text improves specific technical dimensions of their English writing skills, such as lexical diversity and also grammatical accuracy? The next one is methodology. So this study employed a quantitative survey research design. So the sample consisted of 69 undergraduate students recruited via purposive sampling from a local university in Kuala Lumpur. So the participants were specifically selected from the English language studies and teaching English as second language TESOL programs, because we believe that they have the English language proficiencies, and perhaps they might love reading for leisure. And then the primary research tool was a structured online questionnaire divided into three sections, mainly patterns and attitudes of literary reading for leisure, student self-perceived English writing proficiency. Findings and discussions. So I will only focus or highlight what is important, or the highlight of this particular study. So the first one, students' perceptions on literary reading for leisure. So basically, to gain insights on literary reading for leisure and its influence on students' English writing proficiency, a survey was conducted through a set of questionnaires which was administered to the undergraduate students majoring in English language studies and TESOL. So the following were the findings and discussion of the study. So the first one, students' perceptions on literary reading for leisure. We can see from the data extracted that from 69 undergraduate students majoring in English language, 39 or 56.5% of them did not read any literary materials for leisure, because the data recorded them choosing 0 hours option. So this is the most shocking finding, because we perceive English major students or TESOL students to be those who actually prefer to read any reading materials or article, but then this is the data. This is the continuation of them choosing like 0 hours. So the next one, it's still under students' perceptions on literary reading for leisure. So annually they only read 0 to 2 books. So most of them, like 46.4% of them, read 0 to 2 books per year. And then we can see that only 3 students actually read 11 and more books per year. When it comes to the influence of FVR or literary reading for leisure towards English writing proficiency, from the data we have extracted that 37.7% believe in the improvement or influence on vocabulary, and then ideas came second, 29%, and then lastly it's structure and also like grammar, so only 10.1% believe on the enhancements of grammar, and 7.3% believe on the improvement of English writing structure. So the next part is the impact on specific writing components. For example, here I find myself using fancier words, so I will only focus on this particular data. So they actually, it's actually the same, so neutral, 44.9%, and then 44.9% students also agree on the impact of using a more sophisticated vocabularies because of the influence of reading literary materials for leisure. So next I will explain further regarding the discussions based on all the data that we have extracted earlier. And next is the discussion part. So the most striking trend in the data is the detach between their self-independent reading efforts and also the perceived benefits or influence of reading literary materials for leisure. So while more than half of the students, 56.5% reported reading 0 hours per week, and then annually they only read 0 to 2 books over. But then, however, over 90% of the students still associated their literary reading habits with better English writing proficiency. So that is the study's findings based on the data, and it is an obvious and a shocking report of lack of preference of reading literary materials or probably reading for leisure itself. However, the reading gap is large, but then they have agreed on the positive impacts of literary reading for leisure towards the enhancements of English writing proficiency. So in this study, we reckon that the lack of engagement in literary reading for leisure, despite positive attitudes of self-perceived impacts on writing performance, propose that literary leisure reading is perceived as a demanding task rather than a comforting hobby or activity. So this actually clarified that while students emphasize the value or the input that they receive, they actually struggle with doing it without any like enforcement. And then the findings also revealed that current generation of students, including those who major in English language studies and TESOL, might feel that reading is a burden or a classroom instruction, as if they did not prefer to read English literary materials voluntarily, they might only read like literary materials when they were required to do so for like literature classes and so on.
Yes. Tell me, reading.
Additionally, the participants reported a moderately high mean for writing confidence, the median equal to 6.94 in terms of specific technical or mechanical dimension or the technical craft of writing performance, idea generation 3.87 and writing flow 3.8. were perceived more strongly than grammatical accuracy, 3.62. And this aligns with the findings of Lee and Wong 2017, as they acknowledge that leisure reading habit is linked to the cognitive ability to use varied words, and it assisted students with writing styles. However, they did not believe that it would actually help them to produce grammatically accurate sentences. The undergraduate students believe that their writing confidence has increased through their ability to use fancier or sophisticated words when writing English essays. And apart from that, more often than not, second language learners find it difficult to avoid using direct translations of their first language. On the contrary, based on the data, undergraduate students perceive that instead of translating, they were actually writing or creating English sentences, and the flow of their writing improved. Again, even though their reading frequencies are low, or their reading, they did not prefer to read for leisure. So the principal limitation of this study actually lied in the use of self-reported data, because we actually measure self-perceived English writing proficiency or performance, as students answered the survey with again their self-perceived English writing performance, while the study apprehended students' attitudes, beliefs, feelings, and judgments. It did not provide an objective measurement of their English language skills. However, despite the lack of objective data, examining students' self-perceived benefits of literary reading for leisure is a valid and necessary starting point for further and also deeper research. This paper concludes that based on the survey that we have conducted, again, the striking trend, or surprisingly, even though we perceive undergraduate students, especially those majoring in English language studies and TESOL, as those who actually prefer to read literature for leisure, or probably to perhaps just read for leisure, most students actually have spent less than 5 hours of reading per week, and they normally read 0 to 2 books annually. And the findings justified that literature as a silent architect, because students perceive that literary reading for leisure enhance their ability to produce a natural flow of writing, and also their cognitive capacity or ability to use sophisticated vocabulary, even when the result portrayed that they actually did not prefer to read. So probably from based on the research that we have conducted, students need encouragement for them to actually love to read. So probably through asking them to read for leisure, or maybe do not force, but then ask them to develop the likings or the preference towards reading for leisure, especially reading less heavy materials like novels, short stories, fictions, and so on, so that reading can actually enhance English language proficiency, especially writing proficiency. Lastly, so the last part of this particular presentation is the future recommendations for further research. So as this study is limited to only self-perceived benefits of literary reading for leisure, this study can be enhanced through the focus on English writing performance itself, perhaps through mixed method research design, where researchers combine survey questionnaires with pre-test and also post-test of students, essay production or test scores. And then further research could also probably apply longitudinal study to further focus on the progress of a group of like TESOL students or those majoring in English language over like a year or two to see if those who increase their literary leisure reading hours show a statistically significant rise in their actual English writing exam scores. I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So that's what we can gather from Dr. Siti Nur Aisha on the role of what do you call it, reading for leisure, right? So maybe we can have some feedback or input from our audience on the findings. Thank you very much, Doctor. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Somebody saying something? Yeah, Dr. Suhaila, please.
Assalamualaikum, doctors and Dr. Siti. All right, I find that your research is very fascinating. Yeah, all right, and I also compare the findings of your result with mine. Can I ask, all right, number one, based on my findings, it was found that we look at students who registered for English literature for IGSEE. That was for my study. And then they registered for English literature. And then it was found during my study that among these students, there were more female students than male students. So I would like to know from your study, Dr. Siti, all right, among your undergraduate students that you conducted your research on, were there, because also they were English majors and TESOL students, were there more female students? Male students?
There were more female students. Dr. Suhaila, I was I studied my undergraduate dekat IIUM. So there were like more female students. Like of course every classes would have like more female students compared to male student, especially those who actually major in literature.
And then I would like to ask Dr. Siti, among those, the percentage that read, according to your study, were there more female students? Also, was the data covering all female students? Those who read?
Yes, those who read were female students.
I see. And then my second question, Dr. Siti, I make it fast. Yeah, based on your study, would you say that our future English teachers will not be inclined to teach English literature in the future?
They need, but they would eventually like teach, especially those majoring in English literature. But then I believe this is actually like our findings are worrying because like they really did not read as much as like we used to actually read, because those who actually major in literature, we used to like read a lot, not just for our classes, but then like our own like pleasure and also like leisure whenever we have time. But then they did not read. So if they were not able to read as much as we did in the past, probably because nowadays people would just use AI. So I think they would just use AI to actually study or interpret like literary texts or materials.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Siti. Thank you, Dr. Suhaila.
All right, thank you. Dr. Siti, can I just chip in?
Yes.
With regard to your point just now, they don't really read for leisure. Now, did your research cover reading for leisure on materials from social media platforms?
No, it only covered like reading literary materials like poetry.
Yes, they could, and perhaps this can be an explanation to the findings where students these days, aside from reading their academic materials for their CGPA purposes, okay, the leisure time is spent on reading on social media, on reading materials on social media rather than the leisure reading like we used to. So maybe we're talking about how they spend their leisure time instead of reading the kind of materials that most of us did last time. Now it is spent on reading on social media blogs and everything, Facebook, yeah, which is not covered, which was not covered in your study. So that could justify, because they said despite your finding more than half did not read, but they claim that their language productivity is improved, right? So there could be different kind of materials these days. We are dealing with students in this era. Yeah, it's another point, is another avenue of research for Dr. Suhaila.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
I
you,
guess
Doctor. Probably with Dr. Siti, inshallah. Yeah, inshallah.
Yes,
Thank you.
inshallah. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. So any further input from our participants, right? If we are now waiting for the last presentation. Right, okay, so Dr. Margaret Anthony on the paper investigating students' problems with cohesion and coherence in beginner in writing among university students. So please welcome Dr. Margaret. Yes. All right.
Good day. I'm Dr. Margaret Anthony, a Japanese language lecturer from University Science Islam Malaysia. Today, I will present our study titled Investigating Cohesion and Coherence Problems in Beginner Japanese Writing among University Students. This study explores how beginner learners use cohesive devices in their writing and examines whether cohesion can serve as an indicator of writing quality among Japanese language learners at the university. Writing in a foreign language is often considered one of the most demanding language skills. Unlike speaking, writing requires learners to organize ideas carefully and structure their thoughts logically across sentences and paragraphs. For effective writing, learners need not only grammar and vocabulary, but also discourse level competence, particularly cohesion and coherence. However, beginner Japanese language learners often produce sentences that are grammatically correct but lack clear connection between ideas. This results in writing that appears fragmented or disorganized. Before discussing the study, it is important to briefly clarify the concepts of cohesion and coherence. Cohesion refers to the linguistic devices that connects sentences within a text. This includes elements such as reference, conjunctions, ellipses, substitution, and lexical relationships. Coherence, on the other hand, refers to the logical unity and overall meaning of the text. While cohesion operates at the surface linguistic level, coherence reflects how ideas are organized conceptually so that readers can understand the message clearly. Previous research has extensively examined cohesion in English second language writing. However, studies focusing on Japanese as foreign language writing, particularly at the beginning level, remain limited. This research gap is significant because Japanese discourse has structural characteristics such as topic prominence and frequent ellipses, which may influence how cohesion develops among learners. Therefore, examining cohesion in beginner Japanese writing can provide important insight for language teaching and assessment. This study was conducted with three main objectives. First, to investigate cohesion-related problem in beginner Japanese writing. Second, to examine changes in cohesion used over a 9-week instructional period. Third, to determine which types of cohesive devices are most strongly associated with writing quality. By addressing these objectives, this study aims to contribute empirical evidence on the role of cohesion in beginner Japanese writing development. The participants in this study were 25 undergraduate students enrolled in an introductory Japanese language course at University Science Islam Malaysia. All students were classified as A1 level learners, meaning they had no prior formal exposure to Japanese. Their ages ranged from 9 to 22 years, and they came from different academic majors. Participants in the study was voluntary, and all the data were anonymized to ensure ethical research practices. The study adopted a quantitative pre-test and post-test design. The research was conducted over a 9-week instructional period. Students completed 2 descriptive writing tasks, one in week 1 as a pre-test and another in week 9 as a post-test. Each task required students to write approximately 150 to 200 Japanese characters within 30 minutes under controlled classroom conditions. This design allowed us to observe how cohesion use developed over time. The analysis of cohesive devices was based on a framework proposed by Halide and Hassan in 1976. This framework divides cohesion into 2 major categories. The first is grammatical cohesion, which include reference substitutions, ellipses, and conjunctions. The second is lexical cohesion, which involves repetition, synonym, and collocation. All cohesive ties in students' composition were identified and counted to calculate cohesion density. To evaluate writing quality, we used an analytic rubric consisting of 4 criteria: content, organization, language accuracy, and cohesion. Each criterion was rated on a scale from 1 to 5, giving a maximum possible score of 20 points. 2 experienced Japanese language instructors independently evaluated all writing samples. Inter-rater reliability was calculated using Cohen's kappa and achieved a value of 0.89, which indicates strong agreement between the evaluators. The results indicated a clear improvement in cohesion use over the 9-week instructional period. Overall, cohesion density increased significantly from the pre-test to the post-test. Students showed noticeable improvement in their ability to link sentences and maintain continuity in their writing. The largest improvement were observed in the use of reference and conjunctions, suggesting that learners became more aware of how sentences should be connected in a text. This table shows the improvement in cohesion used across the 9-week instructional period. The most notable improvement occurred in conjunctions, which more than doubled from the pre-test to the post-test. Reference devices also increased significantly, indicating stronger discourse continuity. Correlation analysis revealed interesting findings. Conjunctions showed the strongest relationship with writing quality, with a correlation coefficient of 0.72. Reference also demonstrated a strong correlation at 0.65. Lexical cohesion showed a moderate relationship with writing quality, while ellipses displayed only a weak relationship. This result suggests that logical connectors and referential continuity play an important role in determining the quality of beginner writing. This graph visually illustrates the increase in cohesion use after the instructional period. Conjunction shows the strongest growth, suggesting that students improved their ability to express logical relationships between sentences. This graph shows how strongly each cohesion category predicts writing quality. Conjunction has the highest correlation indicating that logical connectors play the most important role in determining writing quality among beginner learners. One possible explanation for this finding is that conjunction functions as explicit signals of logical relationships between ideas. They help readers understand how sentences are connected, whether through addition, contrast, cause, or sequence. In contrast, ellipses requires greater pragmatic awareness and may therefore be less developed among beginner learners. The findings suggest several important implications for Japanese language teaching. First, cohesion should be introduced explicitly in beginner writing instruction. Second, teachers can focus on teaching conjunctions, types such as additive, causal, adversative, and connectors. Third, classroom activities should encourage students to use cohesive devices when constructing paragraphs. By incorporating cohesion-focused instruction, teachers can help students develop stronger discourse-level writing skills. Although the study provides useful insight, several limitations should be acknowledged. The study involved a relatively small sample size of 25 students. In addition, the research was conducted in a single institutional context, which may limit the generalizability of the finding. Future studies could involve larger samples and include multiple universities to examine whether similar pattern occurs in other contexts. Conclusion. This study demonstrates that cohesion is an important indicator of writing quality among beginner Japanese language learning. The result shows that cohesion density increases over time and that certain cohesive devices, particularly conjunctions and references, play an important role in writing quality. These findings highlight the importance of integrating cohesion-focused instruction in beginner Japanese writing courses. End of my presentation today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Margaret. Okay, that ends our session today, but I still would like to open the floor for Q&A sessions, any concern or any input to be shared with our presenter today on the writing cohesion. So you teach Japanese, you seem right, Dr. Margaret?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah?
I am.
Okay. That's very interesting. Okay, so no one to give the input or any feedback. I would like to ask then, Doctor.
Yes,
right.
please.
Do I see it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I see that the components measured. I mean, the components included in measuring cohesions were references, conjunctions like lexical cohesion and ellipses, right?
Yes,
All right.
exactly.
So those included are the correct use of these components in the writing, as specified by the examiner.
Yes,
Right?
yes, doctor. Yes.
How about the wrong use of it, Doctor? Did you also include in your analysis? How did you discover any wrong use and how was it treated?
Yeah, actually, the students actually the mistakes on the ellipsis part. They tend to how can I say? They tend to make it short, more like a spoken language. As we understand, spoken language and writing is totally different. So sometimes when we, of course, it's not denying our students learning something new language. They do not know, like how like we learn our mother tongue is actually, for me, I would say we never learn from the scratch. We learn from copying what our parents thought is what we are doing, but they are learning from scratch. So whereby in a very short duration, and especially if you see USIM students, their background is totally more to education, religious studies. So when we expose this kind of things for them, it's like confusing for them. So it is something new. And basically, we don't teach this element in teaching language because previously I was teaching English. I was testing background. So we don't teach what is actually coherence and cohesive devices. So when it comes to this, I discover, this is my own research during my PhD also, I discovered that this actually we lack focus on. So even our reading materials also in the book, they don't focus this. They don't ever focus. So what I did, I simplify the framework of cohesion, which is the theory from Halliday and Hassan. So I simplify according to the Japanese learning, follow the basic learners. So I simplify and of course with the help of a few experts in Japanese language, I come up with my own, how can I say, revised. I revised it and I make a module for students. So back to your question, the most I would say is the ellipsis, the mistakes that they have done that part. I hope I'm
But it
answering.
was just ignored. So I guess it was not.
It was ignored,
Doctor. In the study, we just focus on what they have performed. That's good enough, considering that they start from scratch, right? We should actually applaud their effort.
Thank you,
so they
Doctor.
don't. So based on your based on students' results all this while, did they manage to pass well, or how was the grade?
Actually,
learning English, grade Japanese from scratch.
Actually, passing is not an issue, doctor, because why? In our examination, we focus in four skills. Okay, like for example, of course, speaking is a part because that is not coming under written exams. But for the section C, we have writing. So when it comes to writing, students tend to get a very low marks, which I feel it is very, very disappointing. Even very sorry to say, I think this problem occurs in English language also. Even though their grammar is very good, if you test them in objective, they manage to answer very well. But when it comes to subjective part, when it's writing, they can't elaborate, maybe due to some technical things which I feel discoherent, the connection. As you can see, it should have a linkage. The first sentence should have linkage with the second, and it's like a flow, a story. So that part I discovered in Japanese. The book does not actually, the book that we are using is from Japan actually. We call it Marugoto, and it has been actually standardized all over the world. Many of them are using. But if you look at it, the book itself didn't focus that. Because for native speakers, for them it is very common, doctor, like us. Okay, but for students, I think we have to really look at the minimal part so that we can help them. So for me, I discovered this part, and of course, the marks, I wouldn't say that there is a huge difference, but there is some improvement in the students. Yes, that would really makes me feel a little bit, happy about it.
Yeah. After all, the book that that you're using is from Japan. Japan, right?
Yes.
So maybe after this, your next project will be coming out with one module especially customized for USIN students, Malaysian Japanese learners. Okay, that will be very useful. Yeah, trust me, that will be very useful. Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that's a great contribution for us. After all, we want the students to be motivated rather than turned off by seeing their grades. So one way for us to help them with the right materials.
Thank you.
Perhaps the context is Malay context speaking Japanese.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much. I guess that we are almost at the end of our session today. I would like to remind everyone to fill in the attendance list. Attendance by clicking on the attendance list. Yes, or chat box, which is available in the chat box. Please. So for your ITM staff, that is considered under our jam latihan. But we also would provide the certs for our participants. So be sure to get your names spelled correctly. Yeah, and don't miss out that one. How many links provided do we have? Just one, just attendance list. Yeah. All right. Don't get confused. We are in CE track education room number
Room number 6.
Room, is it 6? 6. Okay, room number 6. Okay, so be sure that you tick the right one so that it will be it will correspond to the information that we have. All right. So I guess that's about all. Oh yeah, we're going to have a group photo. Yes, okay. Let's have the best look, everyone. Okay, let us know if it's ready.
1, 2, 3. 2, 3.
Next.
Sini nak beli banyak sikit.
Okay, yeah, our technician is preparing for that. So while waiting, I would like to thank everyone for your patience. This is having the sessions, afternoon session is always challenging. But none of us fell asleep. Okay, done. All right, thank you very much. Let me check if I should say something about this before we leave the session. Yes, so on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank all presenters, judges, and participants for your participants for your active participation and valuable contributions. Thank you and have a pleasant day. And inshallah, when we could meet in another set of conference, whether anywhere, virtually or physically. Okay, with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Everyone may leave the session.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, again. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.